Please call roll.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Here.
Soldner.
Here.
Inskeep.
Echo. Here.
I think you said second. Yes, I'm here. Oh, so I got to you.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, our prayer will be led by Pastor Darrell Peterson. Good morning, Darrell. Is that still?
Good morning, and I'll echo that too.
All right, sir.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly and most gracious Father, an honor and a privilege to come before you again today. We thank you, Lord God, for the great day that we had yesterday, the celebration, Father, and the families coming together, and great times being had in Hutchinson. And Father, we just thank you for so many things. And Father, right now, I just pray and lift up for all the area of Texas, and Father, all of the disaster, the things that are happening. But Father God, I thank you, you can turn things around and make it better than it was before. But Father, we just pray for encouragement, strength, and Father, just a blessing upon all the volunteers that have given their time, their effort to be a blessing to somebody else. We thank you for that. And Father, we thank you for this council. We thank you for this meeting today. We thank you, Father God, for godly wisdom. And we thank you, Father, for the young people standing up, stepping up to the plate, and Father, presenting an ordinance or whatever it might become, that Father, it'll be a blessing to the community. We thank you, Lord God, that our desire is to have this a blessed community. And Father, we thank you for the people that stand up for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Darrell. Next item.
Item 4A, the tobacco-free parks presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoops. Thank you.
Go ahead and please introduce yourself, if you would, please.
All right,
All
good
of
morning.
you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Destiny.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I'm a junior at Hutchinson High School.
I'm Colleen, and I'm a freshman at Hutchinson High School.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Taylor Lang. I'm a junior.
I'm Tyler Lang, and I'm a freshman.
All right. And as I said, I'm Destiny. I'm a junior at Hutch High, and we all go to Hutch High, actually. And we're all members of Reno County Communities That Care, and as active members, we're always looking for ways to make our community healthier and be the best possible it could be. And one of the projects we're most passionate about at the moment is tobacco-free parks.
We're here today to ask the council to adopt a tobacco-free ordinance for all Hutchinson parks, and that would include all tobacco products like cigars, electronic cigarettes, regular cigarettes, and chew tobacco.
We hope to implement tobacco-free parks across Reno County. Abby and I have already spoke to South Hutch, Nickerson, Arlington, Haven, and Bueller, and they're all on board, so we hope you guys will be too.
And there's a ton of reasons to adopt a tobacco-free park ordinance, and the first one is exposure to secondhand smoke. According to the 2006 Surgeon General, there is no risk-free exposure to secondhand smoke, and this includes outdoors as well.
No matter where it is, secondhand smoke is highly unhealthy. Secondhand smoke contains hundreds of chemicals that are known to be toxic or carcinogenic. Also, according to that same report, many of the toxic of cancer-causing chemicals have higher concentrations in secondhand smoke than in any smoke inhaled by smokers.
Most tobacco users have accepted the fact, or all of the harms that tobacco will do to their body, but they don't realize the harm that it'll do to everyone else. This is, actually only 15% of cigarette smoke is inhaled by the smoker, and the other 85% lingers in the air for anyone to breathe.
The University of Maryland conducted a study showing that smoking odors are detectable up to 23 feet away from the source, and irritation levels go up to 13 feet. This means that if a smoker is smoking 13 feet away from a picnic, a playground, or Little Timmy's birthday party, the air in that area ranks unhealthy on the Air Quality Index chart.
Another reason to adopt tobacco-free parks is for the children who play at the parks. Almost 60% of the U.S. children aged 3 to 11 are exposed to secondhand smoke. This comes up to be about 22 million children across the U.S. Children who are exposed to secondhand smoke are inhaling the exact same chemicals as the smoker. But because their bodies are in the middle of development, youth experience harsher effects.
Tobacco litter isn't just gross to look at, but think of the harms it'll do as well, especially to the children. Children tend to pick up things they find on the ground and put them in their mouths, and just think how gross it'd be if your child or grandchild put a used cigarette in their mouth.
That's just disgusting. And not only does tobacco products affect the children, but it also affects the animals like pets, birds, and fish. And we can't have that happen because I've just recently made some friends with the ducks at the park. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the duck with like the big bump on his head. I call him Turmeric. And there's another one that keeps getting beat up by other ducks. So I call him Compton to give him the confidence to fight back.
Tobacco litter causes fires. Last spring when we had the fires in North Reno County, there are people who I know who lost everything. My dad and my sister's dad is a firefighter on the fire department, and he was gone for 3 days, so we do not want this to happen again. In your packet, I've included a data sheet on all the parks that we went to and all the cigarettes we picked up. In Avenue A Park, we picked up 530 cigarette butts. Cary Park and the skate park, 537. Brookside, 31. Dillon Nature, 18. And Rice Park, 17. What shocked me the most was that Dillon Nature Center is a smoke-free facility, but there are no signs that says that they are. So if we could get the signs, and like if we don't pick up cigarette butts for the next 3 years in Avenue A Park, there will be 1,590 cigarette butts just in that park alone. I do not want to take my kid to that park.
Multiple other cities with similar populations close to Hutch have reported successful smoke-free parks, and some of those cities include Buffalo Grove, Illinois, Westfield, Massachusetts, Florence, Alabama, Campbell, California, and Maplewood, Minnesota.
Many other cities have adopted this tobacco-free ordinance as well. Just in Kansas, there has been about 12, and all in the United States, there's over 1,000, and we included a few of them in your packets.
Okay, so I know you guys are like really concerned for enforcement. So tobacco-free park policies can be enforced through educating the public with tobacco-free signs. So this means that the policy would be self-enforced, and those using the park would empower everyone using the parks to provide policy reminders to violators. And good news, if the ordinance is passed, we can get free signs that look like this through Can Quit, as many as you guys want.
A tobacco-free ordinance would include playgrounds, walking trails, sports fields, and other city-owned park areas. We want to promote healthy activities and community wellness in all Hutchinson parks.
And one last thing before we conclude our presentation, we've gained a lot of community support from non-smokers and smokers who are in support of tobacco-free parks. We've also received several letters of support from people who have donated money towards the Orchard Parks, the Reno County Sheriff's Department, and the Reno County Health Department. And we have those letters if you guys are interested, and we can email them to you.
We hope that you consider this project idea to make your parks tobacco-free. We would like to create an overall healthier lifestyle and put forth the message that smoking is not an acceptable behavior for the next generation. Although smoking has declined here and all over the U.S., we can't wait for the day that no one loses their loved ones to a tobacco-related disease. Overall, we'd like to put forth our message that it's not an acceptable behavior, especially to children. We hope you consider our idea. Feel free to ask any questions, and thank you.
All right, thank you very much, students of Hutch High. Let me first of all thank you for being here this morning, and certainly your civic involvement in doing some excellent research, not only in the packet, and I think we all look forward to reviewing that packet of material. You know, I think it is an issue that deserves some further discussion throughout the community. There will be pros and there will be cons on this particular issue, as you know. And this is our first time of hearing a formal presentation on your proposed ordinance, so what I'm going to suggest is that we would not take any formal action this morning. But what I'm going to suggest we do is that we refer your proposal to our city staff, our city manager, and city attorney. Give them an opportunity to review your specific proposal in ordinance form, and then come back to the city council here in a reasonable amount of time with your report and recommendations, and then also invite for other further open discussion, both the pros and the cons. So that's kind of how the process here likely will work. So if you'll be patient with us, we'll, and if the council is comfortable with that, we'll refer this to council for their report and recommendations here at a future date.
I'm comfortable with that, but I did want to say I'm very impressed with your research and your presentation, and that you've had every other community in Reno County sign on to this. So thank you for the model ordinances, and thank you for the work you're doing to make our community better. So I would be in favor of adopting this. So hopefully that's where we'll move forward in the future.
Good job.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Excellent work. Thank you very much. All right. Next item, please, under oral communications.
Right, item 4B,
Yeah.
oral communications.
This is the time that we set aside on the council agenda to invite people in the audience to come forward and to present anything, any items that are not on the agenda and things that are related to the Hutchinson community.
Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
You've got a hard act to
It's not
follow.
you.
Yeah.
Everybody left.
I wanted, on behalf of the Kansas State Fair, Steve, thank you for advertising for us. We
I'll
appreciate
send you my bill.
we appreciate your promotion of the Kansas State Fair. My name is Susan Sankey, and I just wanted to formally invite you to the Kansas State Fair. Opening day is Friday. There's a lot going on already, and we hope that we're a valued part of the community, and we want to continue to be that in the future. And this year's fair starts Friday through September the 17th. So hopefully good weather and great people, and everybody comes together to celebrate Kansas, and we want you to be part of that, and we're glad to be part of that and part of the community. Thank you.
What's the featured crazy food this year, Susan?
Well, I didn't bring my list, but I do know that there's a caramel cow crunch to celebrate Kansas Dairy's total renovation of their call hall distribution under the grandstand. Totally different. You won't recognize it. We also have a new funnel cake, a campfire delight. We have fajitas on the grounds this year, beef fajitas, chicken fajitas. We have tachos. I know. It's instead of nachos, it's loaded tater tots.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
a good thing
For it.
calories don't count at the fair, right?
We have healthy options too, and there's a lot of walking. There's a lot of area for walking, and we have a peanut butter bacon burger that's new this year. We have some coupon books that can be used at our concessions, and on Tuesday we have $2 Tasting Tuesday. So you can try all this stuff and all the traditional things like the Pronto Pups and everything that make the fair a tradition, and kind of eat your way through the fair for $2 a portion on the whole fairgrounds.
We can't beat
So
that. with a
$2
stick.
Tasting Tuesday. So does anyone have any questions at all?
I'd just like to ask the city manager that we have a study session next week. Can we have that at a walking meeting at the state fairgrounds and sample all the great foods?
We'd love to host
Bacon
you.
cheeseburgers. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to host you.
Peanut butter,
Peanut
bacon,
butter.
cheeseburgers.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm
but-
sorry, that just sounds gas.
Macaroni dogs.
Yeah.
It's going to be some good stuff. So thank you very much.
So, well, the
and
best to you and the State Fair Board and your staff, and hundreds and thousands of people will be our guests over the next 10 days, starting this Friday. Susan,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Hi, Chief.
Good morning. I'm Dick Heitschmidt, Chief of Police. I wanted to just inform the council that annually for the last several years, we've received an Edward Byrne Justice of Administration grant. This year, the total for the grant was $25,045. This is a grant that we always split with the Sheriff's Department on a 69 to 31% split. So our share of the grant is $17,281, and the Sheriff's Department share is $7,700. I just wanted to let the council know about the fact that we got the grant, and what we intend to do this year is to replace some very, very old equipment that we have that actually is back in the 1960s vintage equipment, and it's actually crowd control equipment. So we're going to spend this grant to replace and modernize some of that very old equipment. It's very old. And
Sounds good.
any questions? I just want to let you know that's what we're doing.
Thanks, Chief.
Super.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Use them.
Hi,
those of you
Ryan. Good
born
morning.
before the 60s.
Good morning, Ryan Van Zant, the Hutchinson Zoo. I just wanted to introduce you all to our manager of sales and marketing, Zoe Shum. You may remember a few months back we came to City Council proposing the idea that that the Friends of the Zoo, who traditionally would hire a part-time events manager and a part-time gift shop manager, that we would combine that position into one manager of marketing and sales position, and that person that position is still paid for by the Friends of the Zoo, but it's administered through the city. Zoe's been on the job for quite a bit of time now. What, 5 months, 6 months, 3 months? That's not exactly accurate, but feels longer. But she's been really busy. She's been providing a lot more opportunities at the zoo for the for the residents of Hutchinson to come out and see a lot of different things. When we were describing this position of all the job duties, there was the comment that those would be some pretty big shoes to fill. I can't speak to the size of Zoe's feet, but she's been doing a wonderful job so far, and we're really happy to have her, and here she is.
Hi, Council. I don't have large feet. They're only like a size 8, so. But I'm really excited about this position. I have some really fun ideas to bring to the zoo, and I hope that they help strengthen not only the zoo, but also the city of Hutchinson. But do you guys have any questions for
Where do
me?
you hail from?
Where am I?
Where's
I am born and raised here in Hutchinson.
Very good.
I am.
Super.
Good.
Great to have you here in the community. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I had a chance to talk with Ryan when we were both viewing the mostly eclipse a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me about your being on board, and I think I still think it's a good idea to have a position that promotes the zoo and does development for the zoo. So pleased to have you and pleased to meet you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah,
Very good.
absolutely. You'll be
Thank
great,
you.
Zoe.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Good things happening down there. Very good. Yes. All right. Hi, Jana.
One more thing. Jana McCarran, Director of Planning and Development, and I have some more exciting news to share with you. You'll remember with the 2017 budget, City Council allocated $35,000 as part of the zero interest home repair loan program, and we had our first home completed. So I just want to show you the home and then kind of talk to you about how the program's doing. If you get a chance to drive by, this house is delightful. It's 218 East 12th Avenue. They did a window replacement, door replacement, some painting, and some exterior repair work. The total loan was for $15,000. The city's contribution, which paid for the interest, was $2,239.34. This is a partnership that we've done with People's Bank, and I have Mark Eaton and Angie Davenport from People's Bank in the audience today. They're really doing most of the work, and we're just reviewing the projects to make sure they meet the program goals. But here's an update. We actually approved an application this morning, so far we have 9 applications approved, but I'll just read you what's on the slide. Projects have included things like kitchen remodels, exterior renovations, and one person's building a detached garage. The private investment to date is $104,600, and the public investment is $15,000, which is about 14% of total project cost. And we have $19,000 left. All the projects have been in the College Grove neighborhood, but the neighbors there seem really excited. I got to meet the couple who got this loan, and they were just so thankful that the city did this, and we're seeing, I think, some energy in that College Grove neighborhood. So I just wanted to let you all know about that.
Great.
Jana, while you're here, if you would, I hope I'm not spilling the beans, but there were a couple of emails that we got last week regarding a couple of wonderful awards that through the planning department we have been recognized. One from the Kansas Public Health Association, Policymaker of the Year award. Tell us about that, if you would.
Well, that's actually an award City Council got.
All right, we
For
understand.
their
Okay.
work and support of the neighborhood's efforts.
Of
which
the
this-
Southwest Bricktown,
Mhm,
right?
Yes, and for, I think, particularly two of the council members have been very involved over there, but all of you have gone to meetings and listened to the public. And we were actually nominated not by a city staff member, it was by external parties. That's pretty cool. And then the other award was a Pioneer Award from the state of Kansas for our comprehensive plan. So we haven't officially accepted either one of those.
Okay.
We'll bring them back here for you guys to see.
Right. Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you bet. All right, anyone else in the audience?
Just wanted to thank Peoples for their work on that zero interest. I know that there's absolutely nothing in that for you except for bettering the community. So thank you for investing your time.
Hopefully it'll gain speed as more people see it's available and see the fruits of what can be accomplished with it as well. So.
I wonder what we could do to make it more popular in those other two areas that we offer it in. So.
Amy and Jana send out newsletters for this.
Why don't you come on?
Come on up.
Should have invited you, sorry.
Mark Eaton from People's Bank, thank you. Jana and Amy do have direct contact on a regular basis with those other two neighborhoods, all three of them, as a matter of fact, the target neighborhoods. And they do a wonderful job of meeting with those neighborhoods. They have donuts on the driveway, they've got pizza on the patio, and then whatever to bring the neighborhoods together. And they're always promoting the projects that they have, and one of those is the zero interest program. So
Zero interest, yeah.
they're really focusing and aiming up at those neighborhoods. So we think it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Great.
I also want to thank Jana again and Amy for all the hard work that they do. They just work so hard. I just don't believe it. So thanks.
Thank you.
Likewise, I'd like you would hope to see a broader usage, but I'm very encouraged. We've got, I think, although your report said 8, I think you're up to 9 now. Question, not sure who, does this money have to be committed by the end of the year? Or is there a cutoff time for it?
This program really didn't have a cutoff. We were going to do an assessment after a year, and we didn't really actually start it till March. So I figure we're about a little over halfway through the program. So we'll come back to you in March. And as far as I'm concerned, I think the money could just continue.
Carry over?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
don't, unless City Council has a different direction for us. Peoples has been out there as well. Just kind of knocking on the doors and saying, hey, we have this money, and it's a good partnership.
It is.
Yeah.
Good.
Super.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, all of you.
All right, any one else in the audience under oral communication? All right, we'll move on to the next item.
Item 5 through G, consent agenda.
I
Do we
move
have a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call roll.
Pyros de Carvalho,
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Deckent,
Yes.
Dave Line.
Yes, next item.
Item 6A, consider ordinance authorizing bonded projects.
Hi, Angela.
Good morning, Council. Angela Richard, Director of Finance. I come before you with an ordinance. The City of Hutchinson plans on starting the following projects that are listed. We could start them prior to bonding later this fall. So in accordance with IRS regulations, we need to pass a resolution or an ordinance giving authority for these expenditures and for us to reimburse ourselves for these expenditures after we bond the projects. The projects are Orchard Park Phase 4. This will include the pavilion and the parking lot. Hobart Deader Lights, the Golf Course Master Plan, the Transportation Alternative Grant, 11th Avenue, Jackson to Maine, and the Sherman Walnut Parking Lot. The total estimated cost there, you can see, is $2,205,000.
to give you a timeline on this, we propose on September 19th to come before you to approve a resolution setting the public hearing for the special assessments on Monarch Meadows. October 3rd, we would then hold the public hearing. November 6th, we would then proceed with the bond sale. As part of the bond sale, we would do the proposed projects that I come before you today with, and Monarch Meadows, the downtown streetscapes, and we would have over potentially $3 million of bonds to refinance so that we can have some cost savings there. I recommend that you approve the ordinance as stated. Do you have any questions?
Not a question so much, Angela, as when we come to, I think sometime in October is what you said, I'd be interested in knowing, do we have bond payoff happening kind of concurrently, or what impact these additional bonds will have on our total bond load or bond debt?
Okay.
I assume it's, I know you've got it right at the top of your head, but I'll give you a chance to go back and just double check your figures.
Okay. I will do that.
Okay, very good. Any further questions of Angela?
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the ordinance authorizing issuance of general obligation bonds by the city of Hutchinson to pay a portion of the cost of certain public improvements pursuant to Charter Ordinance Number 50 of the city, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call roll.
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Deckent?
Yes.
Dave Lang?
Yes. Next item.
Item 6B, consider rezoning request for 910 Coronado Drive.
Good morning again. Janet McCarron, Director of Planning and Development. And this is a rezone request, as Linda mentioned, for a property located at 910 Coronado Drive. And my presentation should be up here pretty soon. There we go. Property is presently zoned R5. This is at the Wesley Towers complex. And they're requesting to rezone a piece of that property to C1 for a medical office. And the owner, as I mentioned, is Wesley Towers. Agent is Mark Means. Here's the property. This houses administrative offices, and a medical group has approached Wesley Towers. They would like to run it's a kind of a different model medical office out of this building, as well as keep part of the administration in there. So I'm not sure exactly which side of the building they were wanting to use. But when they came in to meet with us, we asked them, are you only going to be seeing the residents of, that Wesley Towers area, or will you be open to the general public? And they said open to the general public. So we kind of have to look at it like a medical office anywhere. And those are not allowed in the R5 zone. That's why they were requesting the rezone to C1. So there's the property. You can see they have parking out in front as well as behind on Trinity Drive. Presently, it's, like I mentioned, zoned R5. And our comprehensive land use map has it designated as high-density residential. That C1 is a compatible zone with that high-density residential land use. And here's just a few photos of the property. Probably pretty familiar with this if you go up to Wesley Towers. And then there's a parking area in the back, in front. And the Planning Commission did consider this request on August 1st, and they recommended approval by a vote of 7-0. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but staff also had recommended approval of this request.
Mark, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on the project and what might be behind all of this and what you envision in the future?
Sure, thank you. What we're looking
Go ahead and
at.
introduce yourself if you
will.
will.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mark Maines, I'm the CEO at Wesley Towers. What we're looking at is bringing not only the medical component, but also a psychotherapist and a specialist in cognitive training to the building as well. And what those three providers will do is work synergistically on to help people with cognitive disorders or general health disorders, but we want to focus mostly on cognitive, giving our given our senior campus there. So, but it's a neat approach. It's unique. I'm not aware of a three-pronged approach like that anywhere in the state or even the country exactly. But so we're looking forward to getting that going.
What's your time schedule on this transition?
We would like to do it in a couple weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the building.
Yeah.
That's quick.
The building lays out well as it was for these services, so it didn't require much modification. Perfect.
Are these individuals that you will hire, or is it a group that you're contracting with?
They'll be on a contract basis. The physicians group will actually lease space because of certain Medicare laws we need to abide by, but the other two will be a usage agreement, basically.
Well, you mentioned cognitive therapy, and I think you said some psychotherapy, or if I
Yeah, the psychotherapist is actually a counselor, and she'll help folks with new diagnoses and coping with the stresses that go with those.
So are they coming in through the physicians group, or through?
No, they're separate providers. Yeah,
Okay.
actually, the cognitive specialists got the providers together and got the relationships established. And the physicians clinic is kind of interesting. It's a membership clinic rather than a traditional insurance type model. So
Elaborate on what that.
membership clinic?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
not a term I'm familiar with.
Okay. A membership clinic, they don't bill insurance or Medicare or Medicaid. Folks access them through, you can do a fee for service or you can have a membership.
Okay.
And for a monthly fee, you have just kind of unlimited access to their services, to your doctor. They're really into wellness and holistic medicine. It's very much a standard medical director or medical doctor practice, but they're very much into a holistic approach to people's ills and illnesses.
Okay, kind of a concierge. approach.
Exactly.
Okay.
Will that be the first here in town of a membership service?
I believe so. Yeah.
Interesting. But you're not going to have a lab.
Not on the property, no.
Okay,
no.
so anything that would require lab work would have to be sent to.
It'd be sent out to
Somewhere.
local labs or Wichita.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Very good, excellent project. Yeah. Jan, anything else?
I think
All
that
right.
covers
Questions?
it.
Other questions from council? Do we have a motion?
I will move to approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve ordinance rezoning 910 Coronado Drive from R5 High Density Residential District to C1 Office Commercial District based on due consideration of the factors presented. Authorize the mayor to sign.
All right,
Second.
Motion and a
Okay.
second. Thank you. All right, let's call roll, please.
Pyrus de Carvalho?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Deckent?
Yes.
Dave
Yes. Next item.
Item 6C, consider rezoning request for 1125 North Main.
Good morning again. This is a second rezone request. This is for property located at 1125 North Main. You guys are probably pretty familiar with this property because we came in maybe about 6 months ago asking to change the ordinance to allow for this property to be used for adult daycare. That did not happen. Oh, let me back up a little bit. That did not happen, but since that time, Disability Supports of the Great Plains has purchased the building, and they would like to use it for their disability supports services, as well as to hold the Clayworks facility. And while we would allow the artisan shop is not something that's allowed in the current zoning district, so they would need to rezone it to C2. It's not allowed in C1. Here's the property. And like I mentioned, it is zone C1. It would need to be zone C2. There is C2 in the vicinity right across the street. There's already, it's already a developed facility. There's already parking and paving and all of that. And here's a couple of photos of the property. And Rick is here. He can speak to what their plans are for the property they own over off of, I'm drawing a blank on that.
Waldron.
Yes, Waldron, yes, off of Waldron, because they had planned to build a facility there, but I think that this property works better for them, and it's probably closer to where they think the customer base would be. Just a couple more photos of the property. You can see the existing parking lot. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on August 15th, and they approved recommended approval of this to you all by a vote of 7-0. As I mentioned, Rick and Frank Stuckey are both here. They can answer any other questions you have, and I'm happy to answer ones that I can answer.
It goes in line with a comprehensive plan as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say that what they have done in McPherson is nothing short of amazing, and I was so excited to read that they are going to recreate something similar here. So it's a very exciting investment.
Rick, why don't you come on up here and give us the insights as to how you plan to repurpose the building.
Never pass up the opportunity to give a presentation.
Very good.
on a great program. Good morning. My name is Rick Staub. I'm the president and CEO of Disability Supports. Happy to address any questions and give you just a bit of a background on what we have in mind at this facility. For some time, several years ago, we bought the ground at 2319 North Waldron and had a house on it that we had taken down. I think it's about 3.8 acres, as I recall. For programmatic expansion, ostensibly for the Clayworks expansion, the Garden Works, and some of the other initiatives that we want to engage in this community for the population that we serve. And the opportunity, and in fact, the paperwork had been submitted and had been passed through planning and zoning as approval for that project about the same time that this hit our radar screen. It was one of those situations where I don't know how many times I'd driven by the medical center, but I just never quite made that connection until it was kind of brought to my attention, looked at it a couple of times, looked at the location, looked at the neighborhood, downtown Hutchinson, and we're really excited to bring the concept that we have developed, pioneered actually in downtown McPherson, the Clayworks at Disability Supports, the One Door North Gallery, and not only replicating that here, but really turning it into a much more robust experience. What we've done with the facility that we have, all for the population that we serve, which is individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But beyond that, we also cast the net much wider into the community in that we've opened up our facility in McPherson at no charge to the local school district for the same participation level from artists that may want to, in the special education program, who can come in, socialize, integrate into the community in a big way, right in the heart of the community, and then make the proceeds, the 100% of the proceeds from anything that's fabricated. We underwrite every bit of the cost, and we pay those checks out on a monthly basis to every participating artist. In this community, given the space that we have at that facility, which is about 18,500 square feet on the ground floor and 12,500 square feet on the basement, this actually exceeds by about 50% the footprint that we intended to build out at our 2319 North Waldron location. And so with that extra space, we're really looking at how we can develop the programmatic nature of not just the Clayworks and the things that we want to do artistically, but conversations have already occurred in the community between some other entities that I want to bring into this facility to turn it into a real community hub. I like the idea of sharing the assets that we have, of sharing the staff. For example, at our McPherson facility, we have two instructors up there with Masters of Fine Arts degrees. And while I don't intend to diminish or to overload my staff, this will be a different staffed operation. We're not going to run it the same. I mean, we're looking at probably a minimum of 10 new employees at this facility between the retail operations and the fabrication operations and the teaching operations. But I'm really excited at the things that we're working towards that extend beyond that which we have already done and really expand into things that are just conceptual, yet will happen at that facility, that will revitalize the neighborhood, that I think are going to really turn it into a community hub and center of a lot of assets in the community that have the ability to participate at that building using our resources to help as many people as possible. It's going to be an exciting event. But saying that, I think there are some out there, because my staff and I have had a number of questions of when it's going to open. It's going to be a minute, because we're really going to gut this thing. I mean, we have the engineering plans in hand now of which walls need to go and which walls need to stay. We want to open up that east side to Main Street with a lot more glass. Redo the parking lot. I mean, I'm really excited about that corner lot, even though we're not seeking to change the zoning on that 11th and I think I have my street right, 11th and Main. I've been heartened by the level of play by neighborhood kids. That neighborhood reminds me a lot of the neighborhood that I grew up in a long, long time ago. And I like the idea of turning that area into a community hub and maybe have the ability for some folks to engage in some good old-fashioned analog play.
Okay, so you bought the lot on the corner of 11th and Main on the, what would that be, northwest corner?
Southwest
Southwest,
corner.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, northwest corner of the intersection, southwest.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I saying that right?
Can you see it here?
It's the southwest corner of the
Yeah.
intersection.
Yes, right here.
Okay, okay.
Oh, I didn't realize you purchased that.
And then there's a house in between.
There's a house in
There's a
between.
house in between in there, Rick. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, much,
Wow.
much better than a Dollar General.
Yeah, much better than the C-store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally,
Okay.
huh?
And while it was shared with me that, and it came as news to me that I'm building a high-rise apartment complex there, I can assure you that that's not on the drawing board. And we're really going to concentrate on this facility first, other than the fact that we've already done some tree removal and really
Okay, yeah.
tried to make the grounds a little bit more attractive during the reconstruction phase. But by the time we get done through that reconstruction, we're going to revamp not only this lot and looking at sidewalk improvement both ways. There's kind of a decrepit brick walkway here that is bothersome to us.
Is the zoning currently suitable for you on that vacant lot?
At this point, yes. I made a
Yeah.
decision, in fact, with planning and zoning, not to seek C2 or any other zoning at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
You may see me again at some point hence, depending on how we continue to move in that direction. I don't have a commercial enterprise in mind for that. I don't intend to sell it. I like the idea of developing that into a midtown neighborhood resource that really brings together that community. I love that part of town. I think there's some great potential there that hopefully we can serve as a little bit of a springboard and an impetus of some other things that may want to be a part of a neighborhood that we're really proud to be a part of. Our facility in McPherson has grown to the point that in reputation and quality of art, that when the Convention and Visitors Bureaus entities or tour groups come to town, bus tours from wherever, Texas, all over the country, to visit the features of McPherson, we're a part of those tours.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we really have driven a lot of business downtown. It has the ability to have our artists interact with the people who have the ability to purchase their product. Even to the point that we were one of the few entities that was invited to host a group of Chinese nationals here a couple of years ago that are looking at developing DD services in mainland China, and to the degree that we've established a relationship with a young lady named Han Chu Ping just outside Beijing. In the offing is at least the conversation and hopefully the ability to bring cooperative art and collaborative art between nations to where we would have the potential to have visiting artists from mainland China, even as we would have the opportunity to send some of our artists over to teach. And I don't mean my staff artists, I mean my client artists. The artists have taken us in directions that allow us to continue to expand the footprint well beyond probably what we expected in 2010 when we opened that facility in downtown McPherson. So this is driven probably in a 50-50% partnership between the leadership of disability supports and the artists who actually participate, who have far exceeded probably conventional wisdom expectations of what's possible. And truly they and we are just scratching the surface. And so in this facility in this town, we're looking forward to taking those next big leaps, not just in art, but in community involvement, integration, and drawing those resources together into a community that allow for a more vibrant experience for everybody.
Very nice.
Excellent. Well, there's certainly disability supports has thoroughly embraced the Hutchinson community since coming on the scene a few years ago, and we dearly appreciate.
We're proud to be here.
The visions that you have for future development and serving your clients. So this is a wonderful project.
Thank you. Very kind words. Thank you.
This is a great project. I'm
Yeah.
really pleased to see the old medical center building to be used,
Yeah.
and certainly a excellent
Thanks. It's such a beautiful
entity
building.
to be.
Yeah,
It is. It's a great building.
Recycling a grand
Yeah.
building that's in such a great part of the community.
It's a great
So
location. Yeah,
it is.
we've been
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for
somebody.
great to go there. So thank you, Rick.
Sure.
The Waldron property that you referenced. What are your thoughts or plans in terms of use of that property? I think we did. Did we do a rezoning on
You
that
did.
as well?
We
Yeah.
did.
That's what I thought.
And then this happened.
Right.
And actually, we've started some internal conversations on what to do next in that regard. So you will at this point, I have no intention of divesting. We have that property as well as the vacant lot immediately across from our campus on 26th Street, next, just over from the White House. So I'm not trying to be a property czar. We have real specific goals, some incredibly short-term, some intermediate term, and none long-term for every part of that. But in the offing, that particular parcel lent itself well because of the location to our existing campus, as well as just the amount of acreage that existed there outside of that which we needed for the building itself, for the expansion of the new Garden Works program associated with the next phase of a different direction that we're going to go in community enrichment for the population that we serve and the community as a whole. This is going to give us the ability to eliminate that building, use that as a different footprint. All of these entities are going to tie together in mission and tenor and tone, but it's just a matter of where we're going to do what. But at some part, all of them will come together in various aspects in a coordinated plan of community enrichment.
So the Garden Works is still
It is.
in the
Still
planning,
part
and
of
you're
it.
looking at that space possibly?
Possibly, as a small part of it, yes.
Yeah.
But if it comes to fruition in the degree that I would like it to, we're going to need more ground.
Okay.
And maybe rural ground to supplement. I mean, the cow works is in the, you can see a trend here associated with where this may be going, but Garden Works, cow works. One of the things that you find in the population that we serve, and you probably didn't want me up here most of the morning, and I'll try to keep it down to no more than about another half hour. The population that we serve have such incredible, unique gifts and skills that necessarily aren't always apparent until you have an opportunity to get in, roll up your sleeves, and work alongside of them. But the other side of that coin is because of the limited financial resources that they are necessarily mandated to have to receive the type of government-funded services that they get, is their nutritional needs, hopes, wants, and desires are somewhat limited by economic factors. And so we're looking at developing some kind of sweat equity kinds of things in the community to where they not only have the ability to turn it into a commercial enterprise, which we would underwrite the cost and then potentially develop some boutique products that could be put for sale for additional revenue for them, but also then to help bolster the nutritional content of their own food through the ability of some high quality beef, some high quality produce, those kinds of things which we would have the ability to distribute through the DSGP nation, through the population that we serve. And again, there's several phases in the works and a vision that extends well beyond that of bringing some other community partners together, and again, getting some people who probably could use a hand up. Some have heard me say, if you need a helping hand, look at the end of your arm. We tend to look at the world that way at Disability Supports, and to the degree that others would be interested in adopting that same type of methodology, we would like to lock arms and do as much as we can for the most possible.
We'll be looking forward to seeing what you develop.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Be interesting.
You still have 27 minutes.
Oh yeah. And another thing. Well, I'm happy to be here. I really appreciate the years of cooperation and support that we've gotten from the city. I just at every opportunity and every turn and every project that we've done, there's been no resistance. There's just been a cooperative attitude toward how can we help you and how can we get it done. I really appreciate that. You'll see more of us. You'll see more of me. I appreciate the partnership and the support that you've given the population that we serve in the community.
Those are good words.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
What you do.
Okay.
Jenna, a question of you, only somewhat related, but do we still, having an adult daycare in town, I think would be a good thing. I'm wondering, do you know, is there still something in the works, maybe a different location, or?
I have not heard. I can touch base with that, the realtor and ask them, did that project entirely disappear? I think this building was a little large for what she needed. And the amount of renovation she would have had to do might have she might have been priced out. But I think there's probably other buildings in town that would be more that certainly would be suitable and maybe more affordable.
Yeah.
Just curious. Thank you.
Plenty of buildings in town.
I might also ask too, when are the Main Street renovations, the street work and all that going to be happening in that Midtown area? I know that's phase 3 or 4 or something. I can't remember what it is.
We'll wait until
wait
Disability
till it
Supports is
starts.
ready to open and
Right.
then go ahead and close the street.
And then we'll
Put
tear
up,
up the
put up the
street.
blockades. No, but I know that's on the horizon.
In 19.
Okay.
Okay.
I think in 18 is we did the water line on that next phase down to Midtown from 17 south. We'll do that road plus the water line on that section, probably 19.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Bruce?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. It's going to be a great area. There's a lot of excitement in that residential, that College Grove area.
Well, College Grove is immediately east.
You got a grocery
so-
store there. You're going to have activities, and like I said, it could really be a social hub and lend itself to a more walkable area. You know, just good things, really good things.
Very good, Council. Thank you, Jana. Anything
Yep.
else?
I would move
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I would move we accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve an ordinance rezoning 1125 North Main Street from C1 Office Commercial District to C2 Neighborhood Commercial District based on due consideration of the factors presented, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call roll.
Pyrus de Carvalho?
Yes.
Solner?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Deckent?
Yes.
Dateline?
Yes. Next item.
Item 6D, consider ordinance amending section 2-1501 of the code pertaining to the Housing Commission composition.
And good morning again, my last time up here today. This is a recommendation from the Housing Commission to modify section 2-1501 of the Hutchinson Municipal Code, and it's pertaining to how the Housing Commission is comprised. Just a little background, the Housing Commission was set up in 1999. It was outgrowth of the Mayor's Task Force on Housing. And at the time it was set up, it was supposed to have, I believe, 11 members. Over time, it became larger, but that was never formally reflected in the ordinance. When we, this year, sat down with the new chair, who's here with us today, to talk about some issues that we'd had with the commission. One thing we noticed is that the commission size made it difficult. We had, I think, 13 members officially, or unofficially, because it was never part of the ordinance. We also had, so we had problems getting a quorum. We had issues somewhat with this room that we're in, and I know that Councilmember Deckent has attended, and he's known sometimes we've had to pull chairs in. So it was a large group. It was difficult for any one person to have very much voice. And then another issue that we have had with the commission is that there's a mandatory representative from outside organizations. At present, those organizations are the Hutchinson Board of Realtors, the Central Kansas Landlords Association, the Hutchinson Home Builders Association, and the Chamber of Commerce. And the way those work is that each of those entities appoints somebody to the commission. But in reality, or in practice, oftentimes the people who didn't come were the folks who were those representatives. I'm not sure, exactly the reason for that, but possibly they didn't have as much of a passion for it. They were an appointee. And so in discussions amongst the Housing Commission, they said, why can't we make this up like we do some of our other commissions? We have the Landmarks Commission, for instance, that has a requirement that you have people that are representatives from these different groups, but not necessarily formal appointments by those groups. And so that's what they recommended. Reducing the commission membership from 11 to 9 voting members, removing the agency requirement, although requesting representatives from those groups, and then also removing the, another issue I didn't mention is the Hutchinson Housing Authority is an ex-official member. The person who is our representative for Reno County has never attended a meeting since I've been with the city, which is 4.5 years. So we feel like, that maybe this person isn't really, since we no longer handle the housing authority functions, that maybe this person should be removed from our roster. It just doesn't look too good to have someone permanently absent. So that's the recommendation. The Housing Commission considered this item on July 26th. And they recommended approval 8-0. We do have a couple housing commissioners here, our chair, Tony Finley, Lucas Solto, who is the Board of Realtors representative, and Nathan DeBerry, who is an at-large representative. And they'd be happy to answer any questions, kind of what they were thinking, and trying to fix the ordinance so that the group is, I don't know, maybe has better representation and fuller meetings with people who really care passionately about the issue.
Why don't we have Tony come up a minute? Kind of give us your assessment since you've been chair of Housing Commission, where you think it stands, its impact on the community, anything on the restructuring as well.
Just that wide open, huh?
Yeah.
So just go for it.
There's the other half hour.
There's the other.
That's it.
Big Rick's 27 minutes.
Tony Finley, as just stated, chair of the Housing Commission. Been on the Housing Commission for 3-ish years. I think I just was reappointed a few months ago. And just over that time, I think we've been trying to figure out what new approach can we take. As was written in the meeting notes, I think this Housing Commission has been in some form since 1995, and we're still talking about housing 20 years later. And so kind of my approach with Jana was what can we do different to maybe move us further along. And one of the struggles that the staff had, and I saw as well in my 3 years, was just the makeup of the commission and the struggle of trying to get things done with so many competing interests not there, but yet there when it was important. And so we really felt that just changing this structure would hopefully provide more dialogue and more of a chance to move things forward.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out is that still subject to Open Meetings Act, any of those representatives are invited, encouraged to attend. Anybody in the public is.
Yeah, this in no way excludes anybody from the meeting, but to do the business, we got to have a quorum. And if the commission's full of people that aren't coming, you can't get the business done. So in no way does this exclude anybody from attending the meetings. The paper's regularly there and reports on the Housing Commission. Adam does a great job with that. So very open process.
In the genesis of the restructuring, that wasn't initiated by the city or the city staff. That was a dialogue that started with the commission. I mean, I'm sure the staff had input, but
of course, yeah,
it
staff
wasn't
definitely
handed down. You need to.
No, this was a conversation, again, as I was coming on as chair of things that we thought we could maybe improve on. We took it to the Housing Commission. Again, Lucas and Nathan are here as well. Full support of the current commissioners.
Tony, your assessment, is the Housing Commission gaining traction? Is it losing traction?
I think it's gaining. I guess if those are my two choices. I think the neighborhood work is a key piece of this. Of course, as you know, I get on that bandwagon quite a bit. But I think the report earlier with the zero interest home repair loans by the Housing Commission kind of, or being involved in that neighborhood work and being able to target those neighborhoods, we're going to see more and more of those kind of programs that'll have an impact. Brush Up Hutch is another one that kind of just muddled along for a little bit, but when we pushed it out specifically to the Southwest Bricktown area, that really took off as well. So I think that's, in my view, that's kind of where this goes, is being targeted in the programs.
How about staffing levels and their role? I know they're highly involved in the whole process of the Housing Commission, but not necessarily the role of the staff, but the staffing levels.
Well, I wish you could give Janet 10 more full-time staff.
Not gonna happen.
Okay. No, obviously Jana and her crew are very efficient with the amount of staff that they do. At this time, I'm not aware of any new need that I think we're working. Again, I think that role of that neighborhood development director that we've talked about helps that situation. It helps push these programs out. As it was mentioned earlier, HUTCHREG does that newsletter that we push those programs out to the neighborhoods, and so I think that's all part of it. So.
And you are in the process of replacing Elizabeth?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It's a tough position to
Big
fill.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to more so, where are you in the process?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to put his feet to the fire
You
quite
know,
that much.
that's a tough position to fill. We've had a lot of applications, but none. We've interviewed a couple, but none that we felt we were ready to move on
Fit
at
the
this
bill,
point. So we're still in that process. We have some feelers out there for some individuals in the community that we've identified that we think would be great in this role.
You're going to go poacher.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Good strategy, Tony.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Well, we're all for it. That's an important position, and
Yes,
the
it
Housing
is.
Commission is one of our most important commissions, I feel like. We talk a lot about our inability to grow, and a lot of that's tied to jobs, but some of it's tied to having appropriate housing for jobs to come in, and it's also interconnected.
Very true.
Yep.
Very true.
Well, a couple of comments. Response, Mayor, to your question. I was sensing kind of a lower point or a where do we go kind of sense in the Housing Commission, but there is I sense an energy that has developed, and that's a good thing. Speaking to this particular issue, Jen is correct. The folks that I've seen absent the most, and some of them I've never met, are the folks that were either appointees by one group or another. And so I think that making it a point to include occupations representation, and I think then it's folks that are interested in serving in that capacity will just aid the energy that I sense is building, and the direction that I think Jana and Tony and other members of the Housing Commission are seeking to instill in the commission.
And how do you plan to advise those who are no longer on? I mean, are you just sending a letter?
You could
Well,
make an announcement at the meeting if they're not there.
Actually,
to hear about
we
it.
have 2 vacancies. And so those are both, they happen to both be appointed positions, so
Lends itself
it's
to it.
It's a
taken
good
care
time.
of.
Great.
Yeah, it's actually really good timing. We had a resignation. We didn't know we were going to get this resignation, but it was one of the people who, actually, I was going to have to send a letter saying, you haven't met our attendance requirements. So it really is an issue. I know these people are busy, and we're not trying to lay the blame at anyone's feet, but it's hard to do the work of the commission. Another thing that the commission is doing, we've started this year studying a different topic each month and kind of really trying to do a deeper dive and come up with some recommendations. So we took a tour, for instance, of the neighborhoods south of here primarily, and just talked about, well, what do we do about, the condition of housing? And it's interesting. A lot of people live in this community, but they don't know the community because unless you have a reason to drive around south of here, you just don't. And so it's kind of eye-opening. And I think the commission's they have some really good ideas. They're pretty revved up, and I expect to see them back here, sending me probably back here in the next year with a lot of things that they think we should look at. Is that fair?
Thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you, Janet.
Yeah.
Tony, thanks for
Thank
your
you both.
service, and gentlemen, to the two
Thanks
of you,
for
thank
coming.
you for
Yeah.
serving
Yeah.
on the Housing Commission. We appreciate that very much. Yeah. All right, do we have a motion?
I move we accept the recommendations of the Housing Commission in modifying and amending the ordinance, Section 2-1501 of Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of the City of Hutchinson, amending the membership requirements of the Housing Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Let's call roll, please.
Iris De Carvalho?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Deckent?
Yes?
Dave Line?
Yes, next item.
Item 7A, consider agreement with the American Legion for the NJCAA basketball tournament.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as you're aware, the NJCAA back in January of 2015 committed to holding the men's Division I basketball tournament in Hutchinson for an additional 25 years. shortly after that, the NJCAA entered into a new extended contract with American Legion for 25 years. In addition to the contract between the NJCAA and the American Legion, the city has an agreement with the American Legion for use basically of the facility for the entirety of the tournament, as well as some other services that we provide. And so the agreement before you today, our current agreement actually with the Legion would have expired in, I think, 2020. And so the agreement that you have today extends the existing agreement an additional 25 years. So not much really has changed from the existing agreement. A couple highlights, again, the term would extend to 2041. So I'm not sure anybody in this room will have to worry too much about using the
I won't be
tournament,
here.
but there might be a few of you still doing that. So, again, in the agreement, the Legion gets use of the sports arena at no cost. The city does provide security as well as traffic control at our cost, and the agreement does exclusively lay out 2 spaces that are for the American Legion to use throughout the year. One, the ticket office area, and then another room in the arena that they would have for storage and other uses throughout the year. So the American Legion has approved and signed this agreement, and we do have a representative from the American Legion here today, tournament director, I believe is his title. I think I'm correct on that, Jerry Ricksecker, and staff would recommend approval of the agreement as presented.
Okay. Well, there aren't many 25-year contracts, I don't believe, around.
No.
So this is very unique to the Hutchinson community and the American Legion. Jerry, do you have any thing you'd like to add? How many years you been doing this, Jerry?
Long time.
Long time. All right. You and Joe Sullivan.
I started as a team host in 1977.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was assistant tournament chairman for 11 years, and I think this is my 14th year being the chairman of the tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Quite
Well-
equipment. Good job.
Well, and I have to admit, when I started moving into the leadership role with the tournament, it was a way for me to give back to the community, and I appreciate that opportunity. And I'm basically here to just answer any question you might have, but and also thank you in advance for considering and approving this contract. Basically, as John mentioned, this is just a continuation of the tradition we've had with the city and putting on the tournament here. And I want to also add that we appreciate the cooperation we get with the city. John Deerdoff and his staff are great about this. Dick Heitschmidt
Chief, yeah.
is tremendous helping us with everything we need out there, and we couldn't do it without your assistance.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Jerry.
Excited.
thank you very much.
Council, do you have questions?
Yes,
Please.
and I don't know if it's to you, Jerry, or John, to you. I certainly support having a cooperative contract. I guess my concerns are that we are taking on expenses associated with that. Notable one is the provision of security through the police department. And I'm wondering, is there a profit sharing in the revenues that come through the tournament? I'll just throw several questions out. If I need to repeat them, I'll be glad to. I also wondered in reading through this, the concession revenues. Is there a percentage going to the Legion or back to the city? I guess those, and my concerns are, I realize what the agreement has been for over 25 years, for a long time. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't, given where our city revenues and our expenses are going, or at least are right now, looking at reducing expenses that we take on, such as $10,000, which will just be looking to increase of expense of police presence during the tournament. So can either one or both of you speak to the contract?
I can speak to the concession agreement.
Okay.
is between the city and the community college athletic department,
Okay.
whatever group that is, and we do receive a percentage of that income. I think the current percentage is 15%. So, and I don't believe the Legion gets any revenue from concessions. So that is really a separate deal. So we do, and obviously that's a big week, for concessions. And so that would be our, direct revenue source from the actual arena. As far as ticket sales and all that, Jerry can speak to that.
I would point out that I think part of the reasoning that we've been operating under this type of an agreement since 2004, if I'm not mistaken, where the city has provided the expense for the police security and so forth. And part of the reason for that was, I think, for the benefit to the community and to have the tournament here. And it was also the NJCAA's understanding that if they were to renew the contract for 25 years, this would continue under the same arrangement, more or less. And so what we have done with this contract is basically bring it up to date on how we're actually doing things. This contract in 2004, at that time, we just had 16 teams coming to the tournament and that type of thing. And it was 5 days. Now it's a 24-team tournament, 6 days and so forth. And we've more or less codified what we're doing now. And part of the contract, of course, is to continue the things we had been doing as far as expense and so forth, and on how things were to be done between the city and the Legion. And by the way, the American Legion is the host, of course, for the tournament. We've put on this tournament since 1949, and we're doing this on behalf of the NJCAA. And so what we're doing here is just doing the next step so we can continue putting on the tournament here.
I would also comment, Jerry, you can give me the number, but the Legion did agree to purchase one of the video boards at the arena and that was one of our budget issues that we had, and the big video screens that have turned out to be really, really good, and the Legion committed to one of those. So, and I don't remember the expenditure of that, but
we, as there was a plan, the plans were for 2 video boards, and when we had to start, or you had to start eliminating some things from the contract, from the proposal for the sports arena, one of the video boards is going to be history. It wasn't going to happen. Yep. So they came to the Legion and the NJCAA, and we have what we call a parking fund, that the money from parking goes into this fund for use for the benefit of the community. And we thought one of the best ways we could do that. So we paid over $100,000 for that video board, one of the 2 video boards. In addition, we also bought and paid for the tournament, and then for other events out there at the arena, 4 of the scorers tables that are out there, the digital scorers tables. If you went to the tournament this year, if I remember right, there are 6 scorers table on the scorers table side, and then on the opposite side of the arena there are 3 tables, and that's where media as well as radio stations broadcast their games.
Okay. Well, that's helpful to know. It's not something that I knew, or maybe it was mentioned at one point. It probably was, and I'd forgotten. As I thought about this, reading through our packet material, what came to mind were the questions and the comment I made, and I pondered. This is probably not a popular thought to express. We've had an excellent relationship with the Legion, NJCAA, and the extension of the contract by 25 years, the passage of the sales tax for the sports arena, all positive things. So to talk about sharing in revenues or that kind of thing, probably not popular. But I began this a month or so ago. I just simply believe that we've got to continue to take a look. And I guess another question related to the expense, is it the $10,000, is that above them? I mean, is that above a direct expense to the city because we're putting officers in overtime, because we've got to cover the streets and cover what's happening. So it's a
Yes.
direct expense above and beyond. Okay.
Right. And it runs about the same, looks like, every
Yeah.
year for the last 3 years.
So again, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
That I believe that we've just got to continue to look. We don't have extra money in the city. We're going to have less extra money, so to speak. And that's where I come from raising it. So again, I'm glad to have a reminder of the, certainly, a large amount, $100,000 towards a video board, and certainly some sum that had to be put out for the scorers tables. And I would hope that we could continue to look at that kind of thing. And $10,000 a year is small, but I made my comments. So I appreciate you reminding us of that, Jerry.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure of the amount we paid for those scorers tables, but it was something in the $30,000 range.
Yeah.
35,000, I
Yeah.
believe. They were like
8,000 a piece or
8,000
something.
apiece or
Yeah.
something like that.
John, a question to you. The sales taxes that arise out of the event, the NJCAA tournament, do we have any idea of monetary impact?
The only thing we really have is the overall economic impact
To the city.
to the
And
community,
community.
and the CVB has put that out, and I've got a number, but it's a $1.5 million, and that's direct impact. That's number of teams, hotel rooms, meals,
Sure.
those kinds of things. It's not an inflated 9 times like sometimes people do. So it's a direct impact every year. Not only the impact, but just obviously the tradition that we have here. So it's a good relationship, and we always enjoy working with the Legion on this project.
And I agree. It is a
Yeah.
good relationship,
Yeah.
and it is a tradition. It is something we want to keep.
No, but I think you raised question we probably ought to ask on a lot of things as we go forward. So
I do have a question about one sentence. It's on the in paragraph 17. It says the Legion may remove marketing, advertising, and other signs of third-party entities with the approval of the Hutchinson city manager, et cetera. What does that refer to?
yeah, that was some new language this year. Really, since we've started this project, we've been talking with the Legion and with the college and the city about marketing, advertisement, and revenue sharing. And so if, for example, the college sells an advertisement sign somewhere for the year, now the Legion would get a portion of that, or the college sells it for their season, excludes the Legion, and the Legion will have the opportunity to go in and sell an ad for that week.
For that period of time.
Right.
That- yeah.
Right now,
Okay.
looking at the 2 video boards, there's a lot of marketing taking place there, and also on the scorers tables that Jerry mentioned, and that really works good because the Legion can go in for the week and have their ads created, put them on the screen, and we're good. The static signs get a little more problematic because they're up for the whole year, and so how much of that year does the Legion get? And so this language is intended to allow those conversations to happen.
Okay.
And we spent a lot of time on paragraph 17, so when you said that, I kind of smiled because we had a lot of conversation on that. But we've met with the college, and I think we'll be able to work all those things out as we go forward. And we really have talked about kind of limiting the number of static advertisement boards in the arena, just to not have just stuff plastered up all over. I think the college is finding out that the video boards are really very popular and good for their advertisers because people are right there, and sometimes the static ads are on a place in the arena that not everybody sees. So yeah.
I would also point out on that as a continuation is that in previous tournaments, we've had, like John said, the static signs, and they've been all around the arena itself. And even before, we were taking those signs down. The arena staff would take, like if HCC had advertising up there that we didn't share in or were not sponsors of our tournament, the arena staff would take them down. Right. So this is just more or less a continuation of what we've been doing along the way.
Just formalizing
And
it.
we, of course, that would be done with the approval
Right.
of the city manager.
I got one from left field. I I know that we get some sort of compensation for our soft drink provider that the city uses. Is that accurate? Okay. And is that, I can't remember, is that negotiated annually or?
We enter into 5-year.
5 years?
agreement,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's only been a couple years, I think, maybe
Yeah.
since we did that
And this
last.
agreement, the current agreement, the pouring rights deal does not provide for any, the previous agreements provided for static advertisement opportunities on the scoreboard primarily.
Okay.
And this new agreement does not provide for any of that, so.
Okay.
So we can sell those spaces to potentially other advertisers.
Okay. Does that amount to a great amount?
In terms of
Paul shook
revenue?
his head. Okay.
No, I'm trying to remember what we sold those.
Because Pepsi, I think, is our go-to at the moment.
Yeah. But, Dillon's was up there. I think they're still up there. And college right now is in discussions with potential, sponsors on those static areas. But again, those are not as valuable in that, if you got one side, not everybody's seeing that. And that's why the new video boards are really
I
the
was
way
just
to go.
even thinking if Coke wanted to ante up, maybe we could find our 10 grand in a renegotiated contract 3 years from now. Or
Well, we
something.
kind of did that. Of course, we went through the RFP, and it's the whole sponsorship deal with
Sure.
the soft drinks has changed a lot from. I remember
yeah.
when I was first doing that, they were putting a lot of money into that,
was lucrative.
and it's kind of changed just based on Fund Valley's not as a little bit different usage out there and things like that. So. And companies are pulling back a little bit on some of that, so.
Sure.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Jerry.
Their
Appreciate it
revenues
very much.
declined.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions, do we have a motion on the agreement?
I move we approve the sports arena license agreement as presented and extending the agreement with the Legion through 2041. And I do intend to be here then. Not here, but around.
At the tournament.
I'll be in my mid-60s, but yeah.
I'll be a few years older than that. I'm
Be a
sorry, I'm
lot
messing up
older
the
than
motion.
that.
Anyway.
I'll
that's the
second,
motion.
though.
All right, any other amendments to the motion in terms of age or otherwise?
No.
If not, please call roll.
Pyrus de Carvalho?
Yes.
Solner?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Deckent?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes. All right, now we're down to, where are we? Go ahead, Linda.
Item 8, report of city
All
officials.
right, Jay, do you have anything this morning?
Yes, I had a question that might be better suited for Trent, and I notice he's not here, so
He's off.
just something to look into. Driving down 4th Street, and I know we bring up 4th Street a lot, from the highway west to about, I would say, let's just say Severance. There's a lot of properties that aren't necessarily residential that seem to be abandoned, and I don't know how those would fit in with our demolition plan, or if we're doing a more targeted effort. I know we were doing more targeted efforts there for a while in certain neighborhoods based on, if those were unoccupied, and I just didn't know if there's anything we could do to start helping that area look a little bit more presentable.
Yeah, we can have Trent look. And some of the buildings may not look very well, but very good, but they're not typically, some of them candidates for demolition. I mean, there's certain factors that we have
Absolutely.
to, have to look at. And typically, some of the houses that have come before this body,
Yeah.
the condition that those are in, but we can, and we deal with commercial buildings just like residential, so.
Okay.
we
Well, and
can
it seems like there's a lot of residential properties along there too
Right.
that appear to be abandoned.
Yeah.
And I just, at some point, we're going to have to start addressing that corridor, and it's just such a challenge
Right.
of where to begin, because it would take so much investment. I look at what we did down Main Street and just the immense investment that took, but how it looks amazing.
Yeah.
10 years ago,
But-
you
but
wouldn't
those
walk
two
down
thi-
Main Street.
Those two things really, to me, are very, very different, because 4th is really industrial.
Well, it is,
I mean,
but
it
it's
needs to be-
industrial and
it
commercial
needs
and
to be
residential.
cleaned up,
Got a little
but
mix, yeah.
it's, it's a conundrum, I agree.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that it's such a major entry point into our community. from people in the Wichita area or
Are you talking about like coming from Fun Valley?
No.
Or
From the other direction, from K61.
K61.
or actually even further east. I guess I'm thinking further east, like if you go from Bueller Haven Road all the way, well, not quite that far, but maybe Obie.
See, I don't think people
Airport
use
Road.
that as much as they used to.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was growing up, that was, because that was 96.
Highway 50, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, 96 came
The
in
96,
too, and
yeah.
but to me, I don't see the traffic. Maybe it is. I don't know.
And maybe
but-
I just go there a lot more since I work in Bueller and
Yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
downtown, but.
Well, we can have
I
him
just
look
went
at the
out the
list,
other
and
day.
there's probably some properties already on the list that we
I'm
just
just
haven't
curious.
got to. And you're right, we've had some good investment along there with Bold and
Yeah.
New Sonic, and so there's there's been a little bit of
You look
investment
at Bold and it's such an anomaly because
Yeah.
it's a beautiful facility
Right.
and then all around it is some things that need some work. Well, thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
No, we'll look in. I'll have him look at that.
Okay. Dave, anything?
Get out to the state fair. Enjoy yourselves. It should be good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Steve.
Well, ditto, the state fair.
There you go.
And Jade, I think it was a good point that you raised.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Nancy, anything?
Nothing today.
Yeah. I don't have anything as well. John, do you have? any
Just a
items?
reminder of study session next Tuesday at 8:30.
8:30.
And just to recap, we're going to talk about the special events policy, and we had one
Right.
study session
Right.
before on that. Public facilities, naming policy, just want to revisit that. Sports arena rental policies and fees, obviously, we've got a new arena, so we need to update that. And then a little bit about dirt streets. And we're going to talk, if we have time, about zoning use tables, and I'm not sure what all that involves. But
Zoning what?
Zoning
Use tables.
use tables, yeah. So, but all of these, it sounds like a lot shouldn't take a lot of time, and we'll be sending out a packet of each of these proposed
You will.
policies that
You
you'll
send
get
something out.
time
Very
to
good.
review
Okay.
for that,
Okay,
make
for
it a little
review.
quicker.
All right.
John, some time ago, we looked, and maybe maybe this has been incorporated in one of those elements, looked at fees for different usages. And I think we kind of tabled it or set it back to staff. I don't know if that's part of what you're
Well,
planning on, or.
what this is going to specifically refer to is when people would rent the sports arena.
Okay.
You know, and
Okay.
we've got, Merrill Dye's been chairing that with the HCC, and we've really spent we'll talk about that, spend
Yeah.
time trying to figure out what our actual costs are and trying to recover some of those, and have a new, because our last time we looked at rental fees for the arena, I think it was 1996, so things have changed, obviously. But,
Yeah,
um,
upgrade that.
as far as overall revenues, I mean, that's something that we spend a little bit of time each year during the budget. And, we get into some times that we had this past summer, start looking, okay, what if we raise this fee? And, well, it's
Yep.
going to make $8,000. And so, but I think it's a point that we need to
Well, I
continue
thought we
to
had a
focus
study
on.
session
We
that
did.
included that.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
about
did.
6,
We
8
did.
months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we,
and
we talked about it.
Evaluate and provide some history of events and fees that we raised and
Right, well, and
like-
we were talking about like special use things, like
special
when
use
they,
things like
when they rent,
parades and so on.
right,
Oh,
the
yeah.
parades and the,
That'll be a part of
That's
this
all a part of this.
special events policy
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
We've got history of what those costs are.
Okay,
And
okay,
Yeah.
then it is.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll
so
have
bring
that.
it back.
into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I misunderstood you there. I thought you were talking about overall revenues, but fees.
Yeah.
But it is something that we try to look at from time to time and at least figure out how to somewhat cover our cost. So that's really all I had. And again, it's 8:30, and we'll be in this room right behind you.
I just look out and I see Tony and Justin here, and we've been talking about the sports arena, but would either one of you want to make some comments regarding the recent summer activities in terms of the facility and or activities and so on? Give us some kind of a report card on the first 100 days of the sports arena.
No pressure.
That's good.
Tony Finlay, Executive Director, Hutch Rec Commission. By all accounts, we consider it a success. We've had group fitness classes, we've had open gyms, we've had the walking program. All of those things have happened this summer, and it was good that the timing fell where it was summer that we were first in there. Now that school started, it presented more challenges as far as scheduling, but the community college has been a great partner. We've been able to work through those conflicts on a day-to-day basis and provided room for everybody to do. It might involve switching a gym here and there, but all the activities are going. We're looking forward to fall sports. We'll be holding some adult volleyball that's traditionally been in other school facilities. That'll be in the sports arena on Wednesday evenings. Youth volleyball will be on Saturday mornings. But we'll also maintain all of HCC's functions, plus all the open gyms and things that we've done for the general public as well. So
Okay.
working good.
All right,
Working
very
good.
good. How about the plant facility itself, Justin? Any hiccups?
Good morning. I'm Justin Combs, Director of Parks and Facilities. Last week we had J.E. Dunn back on site for about a week to wrap up just a handful of miscellaneous punch list items.
Okay.
You know, a few ceiling tiles that got damaged at some point. But other than that, no, we've really had no major hiccups. I'm going to meet with J.E. Dunn representative this week and kind of go over what they've done on the punch list, but we're 99.9% complete at this point. They're also urging some of the subcontractors, kind of like some fires under them, to get them back to do some of their punch list items as well. So, but yeah, everything's been going well as far as with Hutchinson being in the building. I've really kind of stayed out of it. I've kind of let the college and Hutchinson kind of work through kind of the details of who's in what room, and they really have not engaged me at all in that, which to me tells me they're cooperating well within the building. So.
Justin, I noticed driving by here a couple of weeks ago on the west side of the parking lot on the south, next to 11th Street, there was quite a standing water there and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Can you update us on what is happening, or will that get corrected?
Yeah, what our plan is we're going to make a couple curb cuts there, because there's a curb there that wasn't there before. That used to, the asphalt used to be flush with the grass. So with this project, we added curb there. So that curb is creating somewhat of a small dam.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is we'll make a handful of curb cuts and then drain that water onto the grassy area to the south. There's not a large enough volume of water there to, I think, put in a full stormwater connection there, but just do basically a bioswell. We'll collect some of that water in the grassy area.
Sure, we all know about bioswells, don't we? Yeah.
Well, we know that drainage is important.
Yeah, it is. Well, I appreciate that clarification on that. So, yeah, that's the situation that's going to get corrected.
Yes.
Very good. Anything else?
No,
Right.
so
Very
things
good.
going well. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we're down to adjournment.
I will move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion in a second. Please call roll.
Iris De Carvalho?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Deckent?
Yes.
Dave Light?
Yes.
Oh, funny.